Hello there, it's Karen from Vintage Style Journals. Just going to take you over some painting on these little beautiful vellum embossed I think dragonfly. I'm not sure, but I think that might be a delphinium. Some sort of a flat flower. I'm thinking perhaps, just a make-believe flower or an open dog rose, a rosebud and some leaves. These obviously are part of the ones that I showed you earlier on as far as when I was stamping and embossing on the vellum, and I talked about how I cut them out. That's just the previous video. But I thought I'll just show you how I paint over top. Now I've used this, it's a weathered white, but it has a really rough kind of texture. So I'm thinking that that's pretty much what is enabling me to be able to do some painting on here and have it not disappear when I give it a little bit of a wipe off. I've seen some really gorgeous dragonflies, and they're all variety of colours obviously, so you can put whatever colour you like on. I'm going to go for a bit of a blue look here, but I think I'm going to have to do the body in a bit of a brownish kind of tone, so we'll give it a shot and see what you think. I've got a couple of colours on my palette at the moment. I've got Pacific blue, cobalt blue, and I've got some green brown that I've made up earlier on. Just had a bit of a painterly morning doing some envelopes for when I send off my purchases. When people purchase my products, I usually like to hand paint the envelope and send it off and make it extra special. So what I've done is I've actually made a green brown, and I'm going to just go over the body lightly. Probably going to paint on my poor old table here. Seems to get a bit of a bashing, I think. So you can see it's beading up, but what I noticed when I tried some of this earlier with the flower that I showed you in the earlier video is that even though it beads up, it will actually stay put if you want it to. I'm not going to leave that dark brown colour, but just by persevering painting, you can even, if you don't have paints, you can even use your brush markers on this. And I'll just put his little head in. As you can see, I'm using a round brush and I'm just painting over. It's a bit of a watery consistency, and I've made it like that so that when I go to dab it off, I don't take all the paint, but I don't leave it on in such a harsh kind of colouring, because dragonflies are beautiful, but yeah, I don't want it too dark. So I'm just going to dab with my paper towel here. You can see, oops, painted my poor old table while I was doing that. I'll just get that off before it dries. There we go. Okay, so even just that, I'm actually happy with that, because when I've painted in, it's where it isn't embossed, it's actually soaked into the vellum nicely, so it's added a little bit of interest. Could go along, I might do a little bit of a darker tone here. So while I've got the brush with the brown on it, I'm just going to pick up a little bit of Payne's grey. I'm just going to darken that brown up a bit, and I'm just going to paint along the edge slightly, just so that he's got a bit of shape about him. He's not just a flat looking little dude. Okay, so that's the Payne's grey on the brown, and I've just added that to the side of one side. I might actually do the same on his legs, just so that they stand out a little bit more. So I've just really picked up a bit of Payne's grey there, and a tiny bit over his head. All right, happy with that body. So what I'm going to do, I'll just quickly wash my brush. I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm not sure how the Pacific or the cobalt blue is going to go, but I'm just going to give it a go. Let's see how it works out, because I'm going to tone it right down but I did want a bright looking wings. So you can see it's not a tricky thing to do. It's just really picking up a bit of water on your brush and painting over the wings. Now his head's kind of not dry, so I'm going to just hold him underneath. There's no special way of painting this. Get your brush markers out if you're worried about the paint aspect or you don't have paints. Kind of liking the mottliness of how the watery look gives it, but a lot of that colour is actually on the vellum itself where the embossing powder isn't, and I like the way that it really soaks up the colour. So once that's dry, that'll be there to stay. So I'm going to do a little bit of shading under here just so that it separates the wings a little bit. I might just, I'll keep with the cobalt and I'll go a little bit darker just underneath towards the inside of the wings. I love painting, I love using it, it's so relaxing. So just to both sides of the body, just coming out a little bit. I'm going to go darker in a minute, as you'll see, but you know, just want to add a little bit of interest. So using the same brush, just use the very tip of the brush. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's grey to that beautiful, beautiful cobalt blue. And I'm going to get a really unusual colour. So it's going to be less flat looking. And then we're going to come on the opposite side of where his body is here. We're just going to go out just very gently, pulling out the paint, because as the paint dries it'll actually stay put on here. It's not going to go anywhere. You can just leave them white, you know, you don't have to paint them at all, but I just thought I'd have a little go at seeing what it looked like when I paint it. So I'm just pulling out just light little strokes from the body here, using the mix of Payne's grey and cobalt blue. Probably even go a bit darker in a minute. Just want to try and see what I think. I might just add a little bit more of the Payne's to the blue. Don't want it too dark, but I do want it to be interesting. So try again and put a little bit more in there. Just sort of separate those wings out a little bit. If you're not comfortable painting, your brush markers will do as good a job. Just need to persevere and have a little look where you want the shading. You don't have to do much more. The wings in themselves have got a little bit of a pattern on them because of the actual stamp, which is a stunning stamp. Love their work. Love their designs. Wish I'd thought of them myself. Maybe that's a bit dark. Just going to lighten it up. All I'm going to do now is just pull it out. I'll put some water on my brush and I'm just going to take some of that darkness and swim it out a little bit so that it's not so stark. Just pressing down. You can do this before it dries, just using water. That's what I love about acrylics. You can make them look like a watercolour paint. Alright, so thinking just need to chop his head a little bit, just make it a little bit. I've got some Payne's grey. It's not coming off my brush. Where am I? There we go. I just want to darken that head up just so that it looks like it's separated a little bit from his body. All right, that's one. Might try a green option, I think, see what I think. You can equally just go down the side of his body using the angle shader. I'll quickly show you that, just in case you want to make it look a little bit more snazzy. I'm putting a little bit of water on my angle shader just to pick up the Payne's grey. So I've got it just on the tip like that, and all you need to do really is come down like that, and it'll pull his body forward. Okay, so simple little trick. Right, I like him. I think I'm just going to put him aside, and while I've got the blue on my brush, I might just go over one of these. I can't really see it with the white, I'm not really sure. I'm going to fudge the centres, and I'm going to do them in purples. I might just get the original design so I can have a look at it. Aha, found it. All right, so that's what it looks like. So I might just go into the centres and put a little bit of the blue on the Payne's grey rather. I think it's about there. It's hard to see because if I had a different colour on my stamp, it would be a little bit easier to see. But because I've got the white on white, she's a little bit tricky, mate. A little bit tricky. And I'm sticking with the angle shader because I've got it in my hand, but you don't have to, you know, be fussy about it. I've not got a lot of paint on it, so it's sort of splitting with the fibres there. I'm just ad-libbing here because I think that's roughly the centre. And little bits up here. You don't have to do this, but I just thought I'd play around with it and see what it looks like. Okay, I'm getting rid of that brush. I'll just use the round brush. If you haven't got paints, then don't fear. Just use your brush markers, but start off with your light tones first and then go dark. Don't do what I've done. I'm just doing my own thing here, so I just want to play around with it for a bit. I'm using at the moment a Brilliant Violet in the Jo Sonia range. That's the acrylic paint. I'm coming down. I don't want to go all the way down because I don't want it to lose any shape. There's some light. You can see where these petals are here. It's quite light. It's giving it some form, and I don't want to miss out on that. But when you put the stamp on, those parts are actually blank, so there's no stamp as such. And so yeah, maybe I'll just do the whole thing in the purpley colour. So let's just go for it and have a look and see what it looks like. If I don't like it, we can always change it. But I think the vellum is picking up that gorgeous mauvey colour there. It's going to look fabulous anyway, even if it isn't realistic looking. It's still, you can see it's a flower. And it's going to look all right. And my brush is doing exactly what your brush markers would be doing anyway, just sort of colouring in with it and going over that rough embossing powder. My hubby's been listening to Fossils, or Foxes and Fossils again this morning. Gee, they do a brilliant job. They were doing, a girl was singing, what was that? It was an Elton John song. I can't think of it at the moment. But if you're ever in the market for listening to some reasonably good covers type music, they're brilliant. I love their vocals and I love their musicians, fantastic musos. Great oldies and young people. And yeah, just really lovely. I'm going to have a bit of a listen to them again later. She was singing a song and I thought, man alive, who is singing that? That's fantastic. And I love all kinds of music, except for, I mean, headbanging music is not really my thing. And I'm not overly into rap because I'm not political in the way that some of those songs kind of portray rights and other things that other people are more interested in than I am. But yeah, I love the covers music because it's familiar and stuff that most of us know. Oh, Yellow Brick Road, that's what she's singing. It was fantastic. So if you know, want to find some good music, go and Google them. They're on YouTube. They've got a YouTube channel. I'd just type in Foxes and Fossils. I think they're pretty excellent. My son put something on Facebook this morning. What music are you listening to? And I put Foxes and Fossils, and he put one of those laugh emojis. And I thought, well, you little horror. This is good music. Anyway, each to their own. Alrighty. So this is all looking very purple. I'm just going to dab down on this top one here. Probably a bit more water maybe. Let's border it down, get rid of the harshness of the look. Going to go with a little bit more colour in this in a minute. Going for a little bit of a watery sort of look. So I'm just putting some more water on my brush just to change some of the depth of that colour. Don't want it too in your face. And I shouldn't be doing this on my table, but oh well. I can always paint over it if I need to. All right. So while that's drying, I might just go down the stem, and I'm assuming it's going to be a green stem. So I tend not to go too bright with my stems that I do. So I've mixed up a tone of olive green with some naphthalene crimson in it, and it's given me a real beautiful khaki sort of green, and it's still quite nice. I think I better go be a little bit more persevering here, because some of these stems go out to the flowers obviously, but see how it's running? I like that. It's because my flower's bending up because it's vellum. If this is watercolour, paper or card, that would be fine. It wouldn't sort of bend up the way mine is. But you can see you can create something really beautiful by just putting a bit of simple paint job over top. I just really don't want to paint my table here. Oh well, here we go. How you persevere with the colour, it'll actually go into the embossing powder. I think it's only because it's the rough embossing powder. I'm not sure that would do that with all kinds of embossing powder. And if you're still watching, you know, if you share my video, I'd be really happy. I'm trying to give up my day job as a registered nurse. It's not looking good at the moment because I haven't got very many subscribers, but pretty much recently started out, I suppose, with, you know, being a little bit more proactive. So we'll just let that dry for a minute and get on to, I'll put a little bit of naphthalene crimson on my brush. And I'm going to mix that with some of that purple tone. And it's going to look gorgeous. It's going to tone in really well because I've mixed the colours that I've used earlier. It's going to be tricky to hang on to. I don't want to, I should wait for it to dry. That's my problem. I'm going at it like a bull at a gate, like usual. So I'm just adding some extra colour just to the base of each of these flowers, and I'm going to try and separate the leaves a little bit, or the petals rather, a little bit. This front petal here, just pull out some colour. I know some of you might be thinking, why on earth is she painting over the embossing? I just think it's just something different, that's all. So, you know, if you're wondering, that's really why. Just want to make some interesting bits and pieces. Now this section here is the darker section, so I'm just going to go in over that colour there. I could put some more water on my brush. I don't know that it absolutely needs it. They're kind of make-believe flowers anyway, I think. I might be wrong, but they seem to me to be a little bit you know, not perfect as far as the flower themselves. So this part here goes a bit dark here and around. Just want to take away that absolute blue there. My fingers are getting in the way. Not to worry. Could actually put some yellow in the middle, would look pretty cool, which I might actually do in a minute. It would be good to stick this down to the table and just try and paint it that way. Okay. I'm going to just get some yellow and I'll put that on the rest in the middle. I can never find it when I'm looking for it. I should have had it out already. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to not go with yellow. I'm going to go with Jaune Brillant, which is a really funky looking orangey colour, which I think will work really well with this palette that's on here. It's just a really gorgeous colour. Watered down a little bit. I think my camera's just about to die. It's not going to be too outstanding as far as I think yellow would have been a little bit stark. This would normally be a little bit stark on its own, but get back here curly. Let's put some up here. Again, you don't have to paint yours. They'd be nice just left on their own if you prefer that. I'm just really experimenting just to see what I can come up with. But I reckon that's all right. So, right, I might just do one more, and then I think my phone's going to die. So bear with me, and I'll get the rose. I think it's a rose anyway, but we'll go with that. So what we'll do, I'll do the leaves first. So simple, just out at the edge here. I don't really know what it is, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I think flowers, make-believe flowers like I've got here on my table always look cool. They don't look like everybody else's. So see, the more I'm rubbing it in, the more it's staying put. It's not beading up so much. But it is a very watery kind of mix. Okay, I'll just wash my brush, and I'm going to go with my favourite colour here, which is a rose pink. And I'm going to do the petals in rose pink. I might have to take it back a bit. Once the colour starts to soak in a bit, I'll take some of that back. I'm just going all over. No rhyme or reason, just doing it. Can be bold, because the worst that can happen is you'll have to take it off. And you know what? All you need to do that is to actually get some water on your brush and take it off. You might have a little bit of the pink left, just as a very, very washed out watercolour look underneath. If you do, try to take it back. I think I'm going to leave the beading the way it is, and I'm going to go into the middle as well. Right, so keeping a dirty brush, I'm just going to go into some Naphthol Crimson and put that on my brush. It's a darker red, and that'll go into the centre area. I'll just hold that down. You can see I've used quite a bit of paint. You don't have to go this bright. You can do this in yellows. Any colour's fine, whatever you choose, your choosing day. I'm just going to separate the petals there. They're very obvious as far as where they are. Just come around the end. Again, with your brush pens, just do what you like, and so far as the colours that you use. But I usually tend to go a little bit darker in the centre of my flowers anyway. And I'm just going to dab that with my trusty paper towel here, just so that I can get a lot of the colour off. And just be a little bit kinder to that flower. It's a little bit in your face. So just going to put more water on my brush, and I'm just going to come down each of the sides of the petals just to separate them towards the centre. Okay, now probably good to let that dry and then come around on the inside and go a little bit darker around the edge on the inside. I might just do that with this brush and just hope for the best, because I would normally use a different brush, but I don't want to be changing my brush every couple of minutes. So what I'm doing this for is just to stand out that centre. And all I've got on my brush now is Naphthol Crimson and Payne's Grey, so it's gone into a nice purpley kind of shade. And I'm going to not just leave it in a ring, I'm going to put some colour, a thick colour around each of the sides, just so that it's giving it a little bit of form, making the centre part a little bit higher. And then I'm going to put some yellow dots on the top of it. I don't know if I know where my yellow is. I cannot find it. But, yeah, I think I'm going to need to get the yellow, so I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to put some Turner's yellow on my palette. You don't need a lot of paint when you're using these paints, because they're very, they go a long way. A little bit goes a long, long way. I'm going to use my liner brush and I'm just going to dip into the paint. I'm not going to make it an inky consistency because there's some watery stuff going on there. It might run into it because it hasn't dried, but because I'm using just the paint without any water in it, just putting little dots. Okay, so that's going to do. I think that'll do. So I hope it's been helpful and a bit of fun for you, just to add some niceties to your journals. Yeah, these make gorgeous. You could put sticky on the back of them, but because they're vellum and they've got white and now they've got colour on them, even if you put them down with a glue dot or some glue, you're not going to see the glue through the front of this, even though it's done on vellum as it is. I'll show you the back there. Okay, so thank you for watching again, and I look forward to putting another video up on Wednesday with my paper bag journal, my next page. So please share this with your friends and subscribe if you haven't, and be great to give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Bye for now.